The Front, my new favorite game and an honest review. In this review, we're going to cover the good and the bad. Some of the good items being the interactive world, the fact that you can tame followers, very active developers. And then we're also going to cover some bad items, like the fact that the aspects of the game feel painfully unrealistic. Some of the enemies have a massive amount of HP but deal no damage and make it feel a little ridiculous at times. While this game certainly does have some problems, and we're going to cover those today, it's a change of pace. I've grown tired with other games like 7 Days to Die and Rust and Ark, and this game is a breath of fresh air. It's different, it changes things up a little bit, while also remaining fun and interactive and keeping you involved. Today we're going to be covering 7 pros and 3 cons of the game that I think stand out and are worth mentioning. The first pro is for PvP combat. The fact that this interactive world that they've created uses PvP in various choke points such as mines, oil areas, points of interest, and traders to make it to where it's not just resource gathering, but it's also worrying about if other players are going to be at the same resources at the same time. During our PvP times, we've had times where we're halfway through an iron mine, and then all of a sudden you notice that you hear a truck driving up, and you know that the AI do not drive trucks. So now everybody starts to scramble. Are we going to fight? Are we going to run? What's the plan here? Somebody always doesn't have ammo. Somebody else starts saying that they don't have bandages. And it keeps the game interactive. It keeps you going. It keeps you coming back. And it makes it to where mining resources isn't some mundane task you have to go do, but it's now something that requires planning. What time of day is it? Are we going to go out now, or are we going to wait till more people log off? How important is it? The next big item for this game is going to be the game developers. The fact that they're very active, they're dropping updates, they're fixing bugs, and they're making the game better for everybody, and they're actually listening to input. One of the big ones that the game developers were able to win and listen to the actual people playing the game was the key binding. Key binding was not originally enabled in the menus, and everyone was screaming to get key binding enabled, and the game developers listened and actually enabled that in just a few days, which is very impressive and shows a level of commitment to the game and to the players playing the game.
Something I really enjoy in this game is taming followers. The storyline behind it's very interesting. You have a collar around their neck, they're slaves to their overlords, you have to break that collar using disruptors, feed them their favorite food until they grow to like you, and then they'll begin to follow you. Right now, they really can't do much other than just follow you around and help you with combat, but we do know there are plans for them to help you later and to help you with crafting, and there's a skill tree for that. So more to come.
Which is an interesting mechanic, and it's something that I do enjoy in this game. Something I've enjoyed in this game more than other games in the genre is going to be base building. I have very much enjoyed constructing my base with my squad mates all around me, bickering about who's going to build what, how we're going to do it. And this is very similar to other games in the genres. There's not a massive amount of new items in this game compared to the other games in the genre, but I still think it's important to note that in this game, it is fun, it's enjoyable.
This next one's primarily for the PvE players, but it's also PvP as well. And it's the choke points in the map and the way that the roads and everything go through certain areas that cause stress.
And even if you're on PvE, it's still very stress-causing. You have to worry about your vehicle getting destroyed, all those resources going away, and it causes you to think a little bit more than just randomly driving around the map like you do in 7 Days to Die. And then if you're on a PvP server, you also have to worry about other players, because other players know that you're going to have to drive your vehicle through those choke points, and in PvP, they tend to camp that. So you also have to worry about that in PvP, and you have to calculate that into your risk. The next item is going to be a part of the skill tree. In comparison to some of the other games in this genre, where you cannot start to multi-class until you get very late in the game and you have to specialize your skill points because it's very difficult. In this game, you get Ether Shards, and you get Ether Shards through killing enemies. So if I want to spend those Ether Shards in a skill tree that's not my main skill tree, all I have to go do is go farm more of those from enemies. Which means even after I'm max level, I can keep playing the game because there's still more that I can unlock, because I could just go get more Ether Shards and keep unlocking more and more items. It keeps the game playable at high levels, and it keeps you coming back to the enemy POIs to kill NPCs, to farm resources, and to farm Ether Shards from them. Another thing that I really like about this game is the building mechanics and the amount of support that is built into it. Whereas games like 7 Days to Die have a weight support ratio where a steel beam can only hold X amount of weight, which is very realistic, at times it can feel very tedious. In this game, you can build 3 plots outside of the base structure, and then you can build as far up as you want, and it won't incorporate any sort of mass. So it keeps an element of support to it. If you're going to build a bridge, you're going to need supports and stuff like that. but it also doesn't make it so tedious that I'm sitting there attempting to calculate weight and mass. And the last really big pro for today is the amount of progression that the enemies have. So I'm at over 70 hours in the game, and even right now at this moment, we are still finding new enemies. That raid I showed you in the very beginning was a recently failed raid because a new enemy had spawned and destroyed a wall on my friend's last raid. So even at 70 hours, we're still having new enemies spawn in, where we have 2 people on the server max level. I'm level 52, so I'm getting close to max. But we're still going to have to completely rethink our raid design, and this entire structure you're seeing right now, I'm going to have to rethink all of it because of these climbing guys that have defeated our entire plan. And those are the big pros that I think really make this game equitable and make it fun to play. But this game is not without its problems. This game's biggest problem, I think, for me, is that it's painfully unrealistic at times. For instance, when I'm running through the woods and I randomly run upon a deer, and it doesn't run for me, that just feels wrong, and it feels out of place, and it breaks the continuity of the game. And I do understand that it's an easy fix, and I do expect the devs to fix it, but at this moment it's not fixed, so it's going to stay on the list. Something else that I've noticed in this game is sometimes the enemy NPCs will not properly math that you're there. Like when you're at a mine and you're killing everybody, but there's this one guy 10 feet from you and he just keeps mining as if he can't hear you. That's one of those small things for me that makes it painfully unrealistic, and it's what's going to keep this item on the list. The next item is going to be HP on certain enemies. Like when you're at the mine and the guy with the shield's hitting you, he has a massive amount of health, but he doesn't do any damage, so the question really is, how much ammo did you bring and how much ammo are you willing to spend? Another good example of this would be the fox. The fact that I could shoot the fox 3 times, and that doesn't mean it's going to die. I can say the foxes make the game very dangerous in the early game, and you have to watch out for them. However, it's just not realistic, and it feels wrong. With both of those last 2 items in mind, that brings us to our third point. The game is in beta, but sometimes it still feels like it's an alpha stage game. The fact that deer are not running from me when I run up on them, the fact that miners do not turn around to fight me when I'm 5 feet from them, actively shooting my gun, the fact that killing a fox takes 7 pistol rounds.
I hope you enjoyed my review of the front, the 6 and 3 that we did, pros and cons. Let me know in the comments what you think of the game, drop a like, hit a sub, and follow along on our content creation journey.